Non, il y a de son.
C'est bon?
Ouais, c'est bon maintenant. J'entends très bien.
Parfait, ok.
Je suis désolé, mais j'ai pas. How to speak English? I didn't send you the slides, but it's very simple. What I'm just gonna do is introduce you, and then we talk a little bit about what Semaine de la Critique is, and then just talk about some of the Southeast Asian films that were in Semaine since 2000. It's very short. Because there was nothing for 10 years. So
no, that's right.
And then we talk about Aide Aux. Sorry?
Yeah, Cinémas du Monde is better for the result.
but from 2000 and 2009, there were no Southeast Asian films or shorts or anything at all. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, and then
from Indonesia. There's short films from Indonesia.
Okay. I didn't. Oh, I didn't see it. I was looking at the website and I didn't see the. Maybe I just missed it. But anyways, no problem. We will. I'll go and quickly search.
I don't hear you very well. Is it? I don't know
why. Can you hear me? Okay.
Is my volume? Yes, but the voice is okay. Okay. But you.
Hello.
For me, you hear me well?
Yeah, I hear you very well.
Okay.
But can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I can hear you both pretty well.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's get into it. So I'm just gonna do this quick PowerPoint, sorry. So yes, welcome everyone to our last panel of the whole Seafic open house this year. It's a masterclass with Jacques Tesson, who is the head of both Cannes Critics Week, which is also called Semaine de la Critique, and also the very important film fund, Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde. So yes, we're going to talk about both sections and also a little bit about Charles's history. So let's start off with Charles, because this is his official photo, but I'm going to stop the share so that basically it's a little bit easier. So yes, so let's talk a little bit about your history, like because you were first and foremost a film critic, right?
Yes. After my thesis in cinema at La Sorbonne, I had as teacher like people, Serge Danet, and as a film critic for Cahiers du Cinéma, who was teaching in La Sorbonne. So when I finished my thesis, I met Serge Danet, and he, at that time, he was looking for a new young film critic because after the Maoist political period, they didn't were very interesting by what happened in cinema as journalists and film critics. So they asked for a new generation like Olivier Assayas or many others. So I was lucky to be in Cahiers du Cinéma at that time because it was an open period. And so through Cahiers du Cinéma, I had a link with the city of Nantes. I was previously student there before come to Paris. And at that time, the Gelado brothers, it was the beginning of a new festival called le Cinéma des Trois Continents.
Right.
And I remember that in 1980, it was with the South Indian cinema, was from Kerala, from Canada, Karnataka. And Satyajit Ray was there, Adogo Balakrishnan too. I remember also that Nobroka came to Les Trois Continents because he was already his film in Cannes. I remember that in Cannes also, in Trois Continents at the beginning of the 80s, there was a retrospective, a tribute to Indonesian cinema. And I remember that I met Teguh Karya, Slamet Rajo, and I've seen his film Mosquito Net. So I was very interested because at that time, I know mostly Indian cinema through Satyajit Ray, Bengali cinema, and also, of course, Japanese cinema, Mizoguchi, Kurosawa, Oshima, and so on. And it was a discovery. There was also a film from Vietnam. I saw a little bit retrospective of a film of the 50s, 60s, and I was a huge interest for that. And also through Cahiers du Cinéma, Marco Muller did in Torino. I think it was in 82, 83, I don't know. A huge retrospective of Chinese cinema, which impressed me a lot. Because before we can see the Zhang Yimou on the Juan Tudica show. Those films, I saw them in Locarno in 85. But I was interested through this retrospective. It learns me a lot that if I have a real interest from cinema films from Asia, I have to know the political background and context, because China is very, we have everything.
Right.
Cinema in the 30s, people who keep filming during the Japanese occupation, 1939 to 1942, Civil War, people who go back to Taipei, Taiwan, or to Hong Kong when there is a communist and so on. So it was very interesting for me to discover that. And when I like to discover new directors from countries, I like also to know the background of cinema. I remember that I've seen, for example, Malaysian cinema, recent one in the 90s, and recently, but there was a retrospective in Bobo San Pompidou about the Malaysian cinema, Cathay Pacific, and all those films from the Pontiac and all this kind of movie. I didn't know, so I'm always very interested. So,
but sorry. It's interesting because I didn't know your connection with the Festival de Trois Continents. Because of course I'm friends with Alain Jalado, and his daughter Elise, who's also the head of Thessaloniki, and of course, we partner up with Produire Sud, as you know, so, which is kind of funny. So, because Produire Sud is at the Festival de Trois Continents, so we are partners officially with them. So it's good that basically everything kind of comes around in circles.
Yes, I didn't. Yes, Produire Sud is from Nantes, and for me, it grows everything from this cinema. It grows with Trois Continents, because when I was in Paris, I had a link with my city where I was student in literature at the beginning of 1970s. So already they did something, and I know that Philippe was involved about South Latin America film, and Philippe Alain was more interested by Asian cinema. And I have a huge link with, of course, I met Pierre Rissian in first time in my life in Trois Continents, and so on, so Max Tessier and many people. So but in the 80s, they did a really good job for the first Haussienne after Locarno and so on. So it was a place. And I met first time Haussienne in Nantes in 1985, sorry.
Wow.
So and so. So it was very, it's in this festival among Cahiers du Cinéma that after I traveled after that. But at the beginning, it was here.
Yeah. But the fact that you were basically working with Cahiers du Cinéma, which is a Bible for so many film people, film lovers, and you were one of the, not just a journalist for them, but you became the editor, right? Later on. Yeah, the head editor.
Yes.
How did that happen?
What in Cahiers du Cinéma? No, I was to be editor or to be, no?
Yeah, how did you become the editor?
Oh, at first, at the beginning, I was so happy to be part of Cahiers du Cinéma that I was very happy with that. And in the 80s, it was very easy, but the magazine was very open because he has to discover new territories of cinema, and so they used to do Cahiers du Cinéma every year. Often, many times, some kind of a special issue about American cinema. They did this in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. But after that, when I was in Pesaro Film Festival, at that time it was Marco Muller there, in 1983, and there was a retrospective to Asian East cinema, and Hong Kong also, and that we had the idea to do the main in Hong Kong after with Olivier. After that, I became a distributor of films at the end of the 80s. I've released the Yoshida, The Promise, from 1985 from Japan, and 2 films. And I was, after that, I used to be teacher at university also, in Sorbonne. I wrote books on cinema in the 80s. And they asked me after there was some kind of crisis, and there was many crises in Cahiers du Cinema through the story. And they asked me, Serge Tubena asked me to be editor in 1988, and I was very happy to do that because it was kind of such a dream for me to do it.
And then when did you start? Because of course you joined Cannes Critics Week in 2010, right?
Yes.
Yes, because that was the same year I was the delegate for East Asia, except for certain territories, because that's how we first met, was actually at Semaine de la Critique. Right. So were you programming at that time already, or was that the first opportunity where you really started programming?
No, I remember that I've been programming Critics Week 1 year in 1983, because at that time the journalist, the film critic of Le Monde, Louis Marcorel, was very involved about broad cinema, about cinema from Africa, so they asked me to be part of Critics Week. But in 2010, I began to be part of the section committee in 2010, and the year there was Sandcastle, you may know, from Bonjour fame, and also Vietnamese film Be Don't Be Afraid from Phan Nang Di. It was in 2010. It was my first year as selection committee during 2 years, and then artistic director.
Right, in 2016, right. So let's talk a little bit about Cannes Critics Week, which is also called Semaine de la Critique, because I think sometimes people don't know what that is. So just maybe like a quick introduction to what Semaine is. Would you like to give a bit of an introduction?
Yes. Critics Week is a section in Cannes Film Festival, the old one. It was the first edition, was in 1962. And it's not a section against the official section like Director's Fortnight. Director's Fortnight was built against the official Cannes in 1969, just after May 68. Why? It's the president of Cannes Film Festival who asked to the Film Critic Association to build a section devoted to first and second film. Why? Because at the time there was in Cannes the French cinema nouvelle vague, the 400 coups from
400 blows.
François Truffaut was in selection, official section in 1959. It was the first feature film from François Truffaut. And at that time, Cannes has not a real selection committee like now. They had it's like the Oscar principle. Each country select one film and send the film to Cannes, and then they select 20 films among one film of all the countries. And those countries didn't send the first feature film, but in the 60s, it was free cinema, it was Cinema Novo, it was a new cinema in Japan, in Poland, in so many countries, some kind of huge change. And they see, it's too bad, we select 400 coups, but they don't do this for the other countries. So they asked to the Critic Film Association to build a section devoted to first, second film. That's how we tried one first shot in 1961 with one film from Shirley Clark from New York. It's not Hollywood, New York. And then it was very well. The press was very well. It was very well received. So that next year don't come with one film, but with 7 films. So it was Critics Week born in that time. That's the reason why. Yeah.
Okay. And also because, it's quite special because it's only for first and second time directors, but there's also only 7 films in competition. Why 7?
Because there is the historical background first is a week is 7, the 7th film. And the competition, like in the Bible, 7 days, but and second, we could change, but we didn't want, because I think it's also a key point of Critics Week, even nowadays. In other section, or maybe in Berlinale, in Forum, they can have 30, 40 films. But Berlin is different because there's a big city, there is big audience. So you can understand that they want to show many films. But in Cannes, there is a lot of film. There is film in competition. In certain regard, there is special screening from official section. more than 20 films in Santa Roga, more than 20 films in Director's Fortnight. So
Mhm.
for one day, there were so many films. So we think that if we just, it's difficult to select 7 films. It's
Mhm.
quite easy to select 30, 40 films or 20
Right.
films, but to choose behind them with the same level, which one is the good one, and to not don't do any mistake with
Right.
that, it's very risky. But
Right.
I think it's helpful for the film to say that we do a real selection job.
Mhm.
Everybody does, of course, but it's and for the person who are film critic and for the producers and director who are critics week, the film can exist one film a day. We take care of the film, we take care of the director, we take care
Mm.
of the producer, because maybe it's the first time in Cannes, and Cannes is a huge, terrible thing if you can't, and you have to be protected in a way. And
Mm.
also for the market, it's not so good because, in Cannes, if the beginning of Cannes is on Tuesday, on Wednesday, at the Sunday, on Sunday,
Mhm.
it's over for the market. But
Right.
when you select a film, all the producer or the state agent says, I want to be on first weekend before Sunday. And for
Right.
us, it's easy. We have so little films that if we begin
Mm.
on Wednesday, on Sunday, it's quite over. And for
Right.
the market and for the professional, it's quite good to have less
Mm.
film and to have a good exposition for the film at the beginning of the festival, not the last 2 or 3 days.
Right. No, I think that's really great that, it's a very special section because there's only 7 films and it's also a competition. So there's prizes because in other sections, for example, Director's Fortnight, there's no prizes. And the fact that you're giving prizes to just beginning filmmakers first and second time, I think it's very special. And I think that that's what makes Semaine de la Critique very, important in many ways. That's how I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah.
And of course, like so many important directors started in, Critics Week, like Wong Kar Wai or Ken Loach or Alejandro González Iñárritu. They all had their first films actually not in the other sections of Cannes, but in Critics Week. And I think that's why it's so important. Yeah, I mean, anyways, I just wanted to give the audience a little bit of historical
Yeah,
context.
because there was a Bernardo Bertolucci and a lot of
Oh, yes.
French film director, Philippe Garrel
Yeah.
and Jacques Rosier
Jacques
for the
Audiard.
Nouvelle Vague, and so many. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Jacques Audiard.
Jacques Audiard, of course, François
Right, right,
Ozon, yeah,
right, right.
Gaspard Noé, a lot of, yeah.
So let me just go through a little bit of the last 20 years of Cannes Critics Week, because like I previously mentioned, it's interesting because from 2000 and 2009, for 10 years, there was no Southeast Asian films. But you said that there was one Indonesian short, right? Because
No,
actually,
it's a
I don't
mistake.
think so.
The Anderson short was after that. So no, there is
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah,
No,
because I went through the website and I searched through everything. So I was like, did I miss
no,
something? Because I didn't see anything at
no.
all.
You did a good job. Good job.
Thank you. And then, of course, in 2010, you joined in the selection
Yeah.
committee. And then suddenly, ta-da, there are 2 films from Southeast Asia in Semaine de la Critique in competition. One is Be Don't Be Afraid by Fan Dangzi, and the other one is Sandcastle by Bu Junfeng. Yes, I admit I was also a delegate for Semaine. And yes,
Yeah.
so anyways.
Well,
So
for prospecting from Southeast Asia, and you were very useful to us. Yes.
Thank you, thank you. So, so I mean, like, any context about why those 2 films? If you remember?
Yes, yes. I was surprised. I was at that time interested by. Sorry for that.
While he's gone, I also based a
Yeah,
program
sorry,
for
no. I
China
was
and
in
stuff like
that
that.
time. I was in that time very interested by all Chukai de cinema about what happened in Asia and Southeast Asia. And I was I liked very much the Sandcastle because it seemed very emotional with a true political context. And I was very, it was quite different of what I could see in that time. And it was rather new because I didn't know so much in that time. I think I discovered Singaporean cinema through Critics Week because there is other country from Vietnam. I knew them a little bit through Cahiers du Cinéma, through film festival, and so for me it was a huge discovery, and I like the very simple and emotional story, strong characters, and very political background. I didn't know so much, but it seems to me very important for Castle. And
Okay,
I'm
thank
very
you.
happy because the second one was to know better than me was also in certain regard, because it's not to. There is a lot of good first film were very impressive by the subject, by the way of filming, and there are other first films who are more fragile, but you can feel a real sensibility, a real sense of cinema. So for us, sometimes there is first film who are big events in Cannes at that time, and other one is more discreet, but the film directors is there step by step, and we like that also, that when the first film has his life with the career of a director after that. So I like this film also for that. For the Fantang also, it was a quite discovery. I know before the Vietnamese director who lives in France, Lam Le, who made a few films and short films. And I've seen also in Pesaro in 1983, so a long time ago, film for Vietnam, but from the 50s, 60s, and after. And I was very impressed by the quality of filming, the atmosphere, and those films impressed me a lot. And for me, it was rather new in the map I have at that time of this area.
And of course, like later in 2 years, you became the head of Semaine de la Critique, and then there were a few more films that were there. There were two Indonesian shorts, one in 2015, Lukikus Wandi's The Fox Exploits the Tiger's Might, then the year after by Regis Banuteya, In the Year of the Monkey, and then of course there is feature films like A Yellow Bird, Diamond Island, one from Singapore, one from France, and then two Filipino directors, Arnie by Rina Tzu, who is Taiwanese Filipino, and then Carlo Francisco Manatas Jodilarx de la Cruz. So not a lot of films from Southeast Asia, but still much, much, much better than the previous decade. So what do you think? Like, why do you think there were not that many Southeast Asian features and shorts that you felt that were, suitable for Critics Week?
It's difficult to respond for that. But what can I say? I remember, yes, I've seen in Busan a few films from Indonesia, which was very interesting. And I've seen the Edwin film, who was in Berlin. It takes in the zoo, like that.
Postcards from the Zoo, yes.
Yeah. But how can I say? I could say that this new period from 2020 till 2030, I think it will be. I have the feeling, through what you do and through Cinemas du Monde also, that very good, promising new film and director are coming from this area, and it will be now on this few years coming. I have that feeling. We have this, of course. During that time, it was Thailand who was the key country for Apichatpong. Also Manila, but Manila, it's interesting because at the beginning it was some kind of popular cinema with a political regard about social reality. It was Lino Broca. And after that, it was just a huge difference between those two directors in the way of filming. There's Apichatpong. There's also the discovery of Singapore. I put about the map we have from Cannes and from France and Europe. And I think now it's more, we have that feeling with Daimon Along Davichu, who lives now in Cambodia. He's working also as producer and film director. That there is a new, I don't know if it's a new generation, new way to the formation, the new way to deal with world cinema and the story. I think it will be, I can see the project, and the film we had presented in Cinemas du Monde was more than before that. At the beginning, I was in Cinemas du Monde 5 years ago. So I don't have the explanation, because I don't know the context, because what's important is not only to see films, in France and film festival, but to travel in countries and to understand how the cinema is considered in the country by the government, by the financing, by the school, formation, university, and how people learn cinema, how they can make films, and what is the place of cinema in the country.
But
And as I travel, I learn a lot, and I must say that I've been in Thailand a little bit to do a conference for French cinema in Chulalongkorn. It was in 1998. I traveled in Cambodia. I was invited by David Shu, but I never been in Philippines. I never been in Indonesia. Never been in Singapore, in Malaysia, and so I like when I travel. I can see how cinema is in the country, and that's the reason why I don't have the total answer to your question.
Well, I kind of have an answer because, as somebody who is partly Southeast Asian and as a festival programmer, because before Cannes, I was programming for Toronto, and then of course I was with you in Cannes Semaine de la Critique from 2010 and 2016. And if you noticed the timeline, in 2016, Seafic was created. And I think you remembered because I used to complain to you that I said, I don't have a lot of things to show you because the films are not good. And this is something I used to say a lot to you because I said, these films are not good. And to be honest, I created Seafic partly of my frustration because I said, gosh, these films are not good. I think they need to fix their scripts. So that's actually, to be honest, one of the reasons why I did what I'm doing, because I felt we could do a better job. And I think that I'm not trying to say that, I'm trying to take credit for all of Southeast Asia or whatever. That's definitely not the truth. I mean, there were other people doing great things as well. But I think that, there are people like me and there are other, things going on which are trying to make Southeast Asian cinema better because we realize there's talents, but there's not a lot of knowledge. And when they have knowledge, then I think it will make the films a lot better. And that's really it.
I think so. I totally agree with you. And I can feel that even through my experience of a Cinefic jury on the level of the project. I'm sure curious to see them for Critics Week and for Cinemas du Monde. And it's a very good level. Yes, it's a very good level. And it's a good job. And it's very important to have this, because I think they have talent to express personal things. And I see when I see the list of the films who are coming, who will be ready ready now, will be ready in 2-3 years. I'm very impressed, and I have the feeling that will be this part who have to take an eye on it, because there's also in North Africa, Morocco, Algeria as a country, Africa. We have to wait a little bit again still, but I think now if I can have some kind of eye of every part of the world about cinema, there's very good promising project coming from Southeast Asia among the first film, and even the short film are very good, are very promising.
Right. So yes, let's talk about your other role then, which is the very important film fund, Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde, and because you have been involved with them also, but you became the head of Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde in 2016, right?
Yeah.
Right. And before you were also in the committee, or no?
No. I was not.
Okay.
I was not. It's a friend, Xavier Lardou, who is director of Cinema du Monde. I know him since many times. He was also film critic before to be in Uni France and CNC, and he suggests to Frédéric Baudin to be the president of this commission. It's a huge job, but I do love it because it's. I like to. I have this already with Critics Week. We see film from 100 different countries. To have the view about what happens among the first film with all these countries is very interesting, about the subject, the way of filming, so and so. And this is the same for Cinémas du Monde, and it's more important because it's a label we give found for not so many films. So when the film has a film, it has the possibility to be done, and it's a very important decision. But I like it very much.
And is an extremely important fund, because without it, a lot of filmmakers cannot make their films, because Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde, you give 110 to 160,000 euros, and for independent cinemas like ours, like especially in countries where we don't have funding originally from here, like Thailand, for example, like this is so important, because otherwise we cannot make the film. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I remember that for Arnold, for example, recent one, Arnold in French is Élève modèle, is a French title.
Arnold is a model student, by Sorayos Prapapan.
Yes, it's easy to translate, sorry.
No worries.
Sorayos Prapapan. I do love the short film. I do love the project, but I remember there is no financing from Thailand. It was from Singapore, Anthony Chen, and we have the feeling also that also through the quality of the project, this film needs fund, because it will be difficult to be done. So it's important to feel that in a production way, because I'm not a producer, but to feel that also the films are good project, and they have the necessity to be helped, because it will be, if you don't help them, maybe the film will not be done. So it will be very beautiful.
Yeah, and so again, I kind of went through a little bit of the history from 2000, because from 2000 to 2011, actually, it used to be called Fonds Sud, and and at that time, I at least from the list that I see here, of course, Apichatpong got it twice for Syndromes in a Century and Uncle Bunmi. But then, if you look at the others, it's a little bit strange, I have to say. So of course, there's some which are known, like Fandang Z, who we talked about, got into it to Cannes for Critics Week. Be Don't Be Afraid got the fun. Buitak Chuyen, who's also a famous director who was in Venice. But then some of the other directors I actually don't know. Like Nguyen Vinh Son, I know him because The Moon at the Bottom of the Well went to Busan. But Pham Nguyen Giang, I don't know this person at all. And some of the Cambodian directors, like this director Roshana, to be honest, like I was surprised. Yeah,
it's a documentary.
Ah, okay.
I've seen this. Roshan Sednata. It's a documentary about her family, about Pol Pot. She had to leave. She had to leave Phnom Penh, and then she come back with her mother, where he was. Okay. It's a documentary. It's not, the subject is interesting, but as film, it's not.
Yeah, and then of course, there are other.
I couldn't say that. I should not say that.
You can say whatever, it's fine. And then, of course, Rithi Pan also got this fund. He's a famous director already. Raya Martin, which is a very important film, Independencia, which is a beautiful film that was in Cannes in certain regard. This is interesting. Avid Leongoren got the funding for this film called Saving Sally in 2007 or 8, but the film was only finished in 2016, I saw, like literally nearly a decade later. Do you know anything about this film?
No, I don't know. I don't know at all. No.
He's now
either the reason why that it was like that now.
He's an animator, so he has a new project that was in Locarno, but I was surprised because I didn't know that he made a fiction film called Saving Sally, and he got Fonds Sud. And then, of course, some of the Indonesian directors, I know all of these people, Nan Agnas, Norman Hakim, Ifa Ifancia. Ifa, of course, became a producer. So now he's producing his wife, and she got the funding for Uni, which is, you just gave the funding recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's the producer of Uni, but he was a
Uni
director
from Camila Andini, the Indonesian woman director. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Ifa is her husband.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. So, and then Laos, there was a project called Les Amis, but I have never heard of this film. And I looked up on IMDb. This film doesn't seem to exist. Maybe it was never made. I don't know.
Yeah. But it happens sometimes that we get found on the film are not done because there's problems. It happens.
Okay. So so this is the history of Fonds Sud in the first 10 years. So, like it wasn't as what we know now with Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde and the kind of impact that it's having, because then the next screen is a little bit later. So this is like this is before you came on as the head, but you can already see that it's starting to change, because 2012 you have Above the Clouds by Pepe Diogno that was in Tokyo. Then you got my film, Apprentice.
Indeed.
Flapping in the Middle of Nowhere by Dieppe, that was in Venice. Apichat Pong, Fandangzi again.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about what is finishing aid and why some projects get this instead of the normal fund?
Which one?
Finishing aid, because Big Father, Small Father didn't get the main Aide Aux Cinema fund, but they got the post-production fund.
I don't remember that story. I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, but just because also the same thing happened later on also with the science fictions. So can you explain a little bit about?
Maybe it's a change of producer, because I remember science fiction. It was from Arnaud Domecq, and it was in post-production. Yeah. Sometimes there is a change producer. Sometimes French producer submit to Cinémas du Monde, and he doesn't get it, but they try with another producer, and sometimes it happens.
Right. So basically, how do they? So usually they only get the finishing aid if they don't get the main production, right? So if they didn't get the Aide Aux Cinémas du Monde, so maybe they will be considered for finishing aid. Is that it?
Yeah. No, for Cinémas du Monde you can submit 3 times. First time, if you don't get it for the first submission, you can ask for the second one. And if you don't get found for the second time for the project, you mean on the script, you can submit to finish on post-production. So it will be 3. But when you change producer, you can come back. For example, if you submit the film with one French producer, and you come with another producer, it will be his first time for him. So he has always the same number.
Okay, I get it now. Okay, I didn't know that actually, so that's good information. And then later on, of course, 2015, you have BDZ, K. Rajagopal, A Yellow Bird, which is also in Cannes Critics Week, and Davi Chu, Diamond Island, also was in Cannes Critics Week. So, but then, of course, you became the head, and then suddenly things changed, because then there's a lot of Southeast Asian films.
I never seen that. Yes. Mostly recently, 2019. Yeah.
Look at 2019. Just 1 year is more than nearly all of 2000 to 2010.
Yes.
So why?
It's not only me. It's also because there are good projects, as you said, and through Seafic, and since 2 years, and I say this to Remy Bonham, which was there, and to Hélène Auclair. Wow, it's from Vietnam, from Cambodia. I'm sure something will happen. There was very good, promising director, good project. I'm sure it will be the place that it will be very important to watch it, because I had that feeling, and I'm very happy that when I see project now, and a lot of project help, it changed a lot. And what it changed also, I must say, when I began at Cinémas du Monde in 2016, I have a discussion with Frédéric Bredin, head of CNC, and Xavier Lardou, and they tell, how do you think about Cinémas du Monde? It's too bad and too pity, because there are so many French producers who wants to produce film with East Europe and South America, and not enough French producers interested by Southeast Asia. I remember that at the beginning, among 60 projects, maybe there was just 2, 3, 5 projects, not only East Asia, but with Japan, China, Taiwan, and so it was very poor. And there was only Claire Larjounard, Film de l'Acrobate, very few producers. And I say to Frédéric, no, it's so bad, because I'm sure there's more projects, and you have to be present in this territory, and to say that Cinémas du Monde is also for those countries, and to say to the French producer that goes there, there is very good thing, and it will be good for you, because for example, one producer from Manifilm, we gave the fund for Indonesia, he was mostly film from Argentina, from South America, and now he goes there, he gets the Cinémas du Monde, and there is also other producer. In Vivo we help her for Pound recently, and it's rather new for those French producers, those territories. but now they go there because there's good project from Taste, Libao, Marie Duba, and so and so.
Mhm.
And there is now a movement, and I'm very
Mhm.
happy for that. I'm very glad.
Right. No, me as well, because when I used to do this, it was very difficult sometimes to have
I
people
imagine, yeah,
be
yeah.
interested in Southeast Asian filmmakers. And now, especially like if you look at this, the chance of Southeast Asian
Yeah.
filmmakers getting Edo Cinema du Monde it seems a lot better now because the scripts are better, the projects have more potential, and I
Yes,
think that's yeah, that makes a lot of difference. And also
yes,
thanks
and
to you.
I think also for the job you did with Seafic, and also the way to present the project, the quality of short film, and the producer. So of course, before I know a Kanga, I know Fran Bosia, but for example, I've seen that for example, the producer of one film who is there, Mayday from Indonesia, Kawan Kawan,
Yeah,
was
Yulia
also
Evina Bara. Yeah,
yeah, yes, and he
Yulia.
was another project when in Tiger Stripe, I think
Yes.
so. So I begin to also myself to know and to know the person who are the good producer and have
Mm,
at the beginning there's this territory. So it's as if for Cinéma du Monde was I didn't know so well.
mhm.
Now I know better and I can feel like I know also the person who are very so all this young directors, producers,
Right.
lab and all this give good results because the
Yeah.
talents are here, but they are not alone. They are with somebody around them to help them.
Yeah, because one of the things I always found problematic was finding local producers who know how to do international co-productions.
Yeah,
Because it's not enough just to have a talented director, but you have to also have local producers who know what they're doing, paired with then French producers who know the territory. So that's always the equation that is hard because the missing link is the producer who is working locally. So now I think it's a lot better, but we still have a long way to go to have better
yeah, yeah.
producers. So that's one thing that
Yes,
I'm
I
trying to do as
remember
well.
that, for example, for Land Imagine, the years you were, of
Hmm.
course, I know Frank Bocha, but I
Hmm.
noticed there was Kawan from Indonesia, the Yuli
Right.
Yevina. And when
Hmm.
I see the project, maybe, I know her because I remember she was co-producer, so and so.
Right.
So I begin to know all and it's very important to have those persons for that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So here, like we have like, just more and more, and a lot of them are also really interesting because of the success that they have. Because if you look at it for the films that got Edo Cinema du Monde and they are finished, Marlena was in Cannes Directors Fortnight, Manta Ray
Yes.
won in Venice Horizonti, Alain Imagine won the Golden Leopard in Locarno, Aswang won in ITFA, it's a science of fiction, won a prize in Locarno. So the success rate of the films after they're finished also in terms of going to big festivals is extremely high. And I think that's also partly because of you selecting good projects.
Yes, and also it's those films have to be released in France. This is the
Right.
idea. So from Critics Week and Cinéma du Monde,
Right.
also to be in, they are very happy that to have Cinéma du Monde films in Berlin, in Locarno, in Venice, in Cannes, of course, and maybe
Right. Right.
few of them are considered for Oscar foreign films, but
Hmm.
also to be released in France from because when they have this, it's easy to find a French distributor to those films. So
Right.
now the machine is going on with the festival price
Hmm.
and also release in France. So it's very important to have this
Mm.
dynamic. And now I think it's good. And you have
Mm.
also 2019, but also 2020. And I think the
Yes,
others will be
there's more.
going on like that. You have it.
Yes, but I just wanted to basically go through this page a little bit because the
Yeah, I
interesting thing
think
is. Mm.
it's very impressive.
It's because of you. You're choosing these. I'm just listing them.
Yeah, because sometimes we can, there is a commission from we consider only 5 films and we
Mhm.
select, we give the fund to 2 Thailand films. So, but
Yeah.
and also from Indonesia now, we have a lot of.
Mm. And the interesting thing is for the films that haven't been finished, in fact, they're all finishing this year. So Anatomy of Time is finishing this year. Taste by
Yeah,
Lebao is finishing this year.
yeah,
White Building by Kavik Niang is finishing this year.
yeah,
Memoria by Apichatpong. Whether the Weather is Fine by Kalo Manatad. Like all of these are basically finishing. So mostly because of COVID. Otherwise, I think, you know, all of these films will be in big festivals, I'm sure.
Yes. Even because the taste and the world building and was in fine, even if post production was not in the final editing, but the film was ready last year for Cannes. So it's too bad that the context of COVID for those films, but I hope they will have a huge career for sure because they have the quality.
Yeah, see, exactly. So you heard it from, not from me, but from Charles, that these three films have good quality. So please taste White Building and Whether the Weather is Fine.
Yes,
And
of course. Yes. I've seen them already.
Yes.
I've not seen the last version, but I've seen them, and they are very both different and very interesting.
Right. And then for the ones that are not that haven't shot, they're all shooting already. Like Glorious Ashes is shooting very soon. Tomorrow is a Long Time is shooting this year. When the Waves Are Gone is basically like shooting this year. Next Page also, you know, like Autobiography, Tiger Stripes, Arnold is a Model Student, and Morrison are all shooting this year. And Uni is already finished. So we're going to see a lot of really strong Southeast Asian films, I think, in the next 2 years.
yes. Those 2 last years, it's incredible. Yeah. But it's what can I say also that there is good thing in Chinese cinema, of course, but we select Fucheng. But in Hong Kong cinema, maybe I don't have the good information, but I don't have the feeling there is strong scene. Have the project of Chen Suen, which is going on. And from South Korea, I know there was South Korean cinema. Of course, when there was Hong Sang-soo 20 years ago and so on so. But when I see the new directors in Busan every year, okay, good film, good quality, but it's always the same model. It seems that they learn cinema at the same university with the same teachers, and they do all the same film, more or less. And no, I'm tough when I say that. And what I like in Southeast Asia, I can't feel this uniformity, narrative, aesthetic point of view. Everybody is free to do, in a way, his film, and there's not kind of formatage. When you have school cinema like in Israel, many school, but they teach the same thing to everybody, and we see all the same film. So that's a pity. That's a pity. And please keep your liberty and don't do that. But in South Korea, I told this to the chairman of COFIC. Why the film are not so, but they are all the same. They learn the same film. They learn in the same university with the same teacher, the same film, the same, and so all film are the same. So that's a big problem. And I feel in Southeast, different country, different background, but I feel some personal, even if not perfect, even if not masterpiece, but I think personal sensibility who deals with cinema in a cinematic way, which is not formatted by school, professional school, and something like that. And so, please keep that.
Okay, thank you. I hope all the filmmakers who are listening, like, take that to heart. That, like, please be unique and please don't just go to the same schools with the same teachers and do the same thing. So please keep your uniqueness, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. I don't have any questions, so this is the last 15-ish minutes, but we don't have any questions being asked. Yeah, and then I think that. Since there's no questions yet, what do you think? Like, because the uniformity sometimes, because, you know, a lot of these projects also went to labs, right? Because, say, Tomorrow is a Long Time went to Jerusalem, Whether the Weather is Fine, and Uni went to Torino, Cooley Never Cries, Arnold is a Model Students, Autobiography went to Seafic. I mean, as somebody who runs Seafic, I still want to ask, do you think that there is also a danger of these labs becoming like these schools, making the projects kind of uniform? Or do you think that maybe not so much because of your experience looking at projects from like Torino Film Lab and other labs, that it's still unique enough and there's no danger in that happening?
No, I can feel sometimes through Cinemas du Monde when I see a project, its first version, we can't help the project, but I say to them, please don't change the script, it's good. And sometimes they change, and not always in a good way. It's more the guy who is bad is not so bad, and the guy who is so sometimes yes. But the feeling I have with the lab is maybe the director has to be strong with his own desire of cinema, and it takes time, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, to bring this project in him, and not to be and to have the energy. So directors have to be very strong, because it's not the same timing than before production.
Right.
It takes time, and you have to do pitching, do this one time, to that. It can be difficult, not difficult, but for the energy. But I think it's always the same. You have to listen. If you don't listen, nobody, it's useless. If you listen, everybody, it will be a mess.
Yeah.
So just to keep what is the priority for you, and what is not the priority, and what you can deal. So it's difficult, but I have the feeling that when there is a true, because you have the our expectation is different, maybe, that the desire of the films or the filmmaker, for example, in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. And we have, I must admit that when we have Apichatpong and we see so many mini Apichatpong, we are not so interested by that. We prefer the original, not the copy.
Right. There's a lot of people wanting to copy Laf Diaz and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. And when somebody, personally, is that what I expect? It's important to know the common production and the historical background, for example. And to say that not only the subject is quite interesting, but also the way to film that. And I think when I don't see a film director who wants to imitate somebody else, but he wants to deal with his own experience of cinema by himself. So I prefer when I can feel this very strongly, and those directors do well for that. When the project is just the obsession of the script, it could be dangerous, because I know that Cinemas du Monde, I'm not the only one who is member of the commission. There is also the lecture to read script, and they all focus on script. That's good. I'm not a professional to give advice script, I must admit. No, but when they have an opinion about the script, this character, this scene, okay. But I see the environment production. I see the short films, and I know the country. I know which kind of film I used to see from. And when I feel that it interests me, because from Arnold, for example, or something like that, the student, I see it's interesting, because it gives me another image of the country through cinema that I had before. And so it's very important for us and for film festival and programmers. And I like that, when I can feel this in a project, and not some kind of imitation of what have been done, because it's dangerous when you have a film who goes to Cannes. Say, if I do this kind of film, I'll be in Cannes also. But if you do that, no, you will not be in Cannes.
Yeah, no, and that makes exactly a lot of sense. A lot of people try to copy, like, you know, Apichatpong, Laf Diaz, Briante, because they think this is the way to go to Cannes, and you don't feel this way. And I feel that that's one of the reasons why at Semen I liked working with you, because you didn't take those kinds of films, because sometimes there are those kinds of films that I really don't like, and you agree, and I'm like, oh, thank you. And of course, those films go to other festivals and win prizes, but I don't like them and you don't like them, and I'm very happy for that.
Because you like to help to discover new directors, and not only new good directors, but new good directors who wants to change the cinema they are, and to do something by their own. I do love this, and it's very interesting to do this. When you can feel, you can meet film directors like that. That's very nice. Yeah.
And what sorry, just one quick thing. What you said also echoed yesterday. We had a panel with both Sorayos, the director of Arnold, and also Pham Ngoc Lan, the director of Coolie. So the two projects you gave the funding to from Aide Aux Cinemas du
Yeah.
Monde. And they both said the same thing, is the labs are very useful because it teaches me what I don't like. Because it's really about that, because like one of the things we talked about is, how do you listen to all the advice, because so many people will tell you what they think, and he said no, because I just learn what I don't like. And I think that's a really good way to look at it, because it's not about taking everybody's comments, it's just knowing, no, I don't like this, so I'm not going to take it, and okay, maybe this is interesting, I might take it. And I think that's a really good advice for filmmakers. Learn what you don't like,
Yes.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Even if you don't know how you will do that, you surely know what you don't want to do. So yes, it's a good way to to advance here.
Yeah. So let's answer some questions. The first one is, hi, Charles. For projects not selected by labs, what would your advice be to help raise the project visibility for programmers and festivals? So if it's not selected by labs, how do you give it more attention?
It's not more attention, we give attention, of course, because of course we have the information when the film is submitted to Critics Week. We have the background, the biography of the filmmaker, and of course short film. The short film was in the film was in Venice or not, or okay, or you can check on IMDb. And also in lab, of course, we know, because we used to know to be in Torino, Cinemat, and Sundance. We know that. But sometimes when there is film who has nothing around him, and we sit and we can have good surprise sometimes, and there is no, we pay attention for the film. Yes. Because sometimes we can be disappointed by film who have a huge expectation. And I have this information, but I must say that the selection committee has no information at all about that.
Right. And I think that, as somebody who also worked with you, I don't necessarily think that you have to go to labs or all these things to be noticed. I mean, for example, I helped to curate a film that was in Cement in 2011 called Sauna on the Moon from China by Zhou Peng. And that was completely came out of nowhere. I didn't know about it. I think it's just, it's just an interesting film. So I think that basically sometimes, you just, if you have an interesting film, you can go through.
Yeah.
And
the best example recently was Fuchung Mountain last year.
Yeah.
I received an email from the producer, and that's all. We didn't. It was not in our list of film we expected. We didn't know nothing about the Wu Xiaogang. I just discovered that it was in first in this festival, okay, and I was in first last July, so I know the festival now very well. But when I received an email from the Chinese producer Yin Yang, and can you see the film? Okay, but the film, I didn't know the director. I didn't know the film. Because we have a film now, we have the list, the film, and they will be ready next year, in 2 years, and we have a list of all this at the office in the computer. But this one, for example, nobody knows in Cannes, nobody knows this guy. But then when he has to Fuchun, incredible. So we select the film very soon. We receive it at the end. I asked to Michel Aberstadt from ARP, wow, we have a very good film. We like a lot. We want to take it in selection. Can you see it? So I put her in contact with the Chinese producer. It was on Friday, Saturday. Sunday morning, he called me, Michel Aberstadt. Wow, I love it. I take it the film, and the Wild Bunch will be on the film also. And it was in 2 days. But this film came to Cannes with nobody. It was just Chinese film, Chinese producer, no co-producer. But we saw the film, and when we have a huge interest for the film, of course, all the sales agents, all the distributors want to know our shortlist, and they are very interested to see the film. They want to see them after it happens.
Right.
And I like when it comes like that, not only the other way.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful film called Dwelling in the Fuchun Mountain from
Yes.
China. That was in Critics Week, and it just came out of nowhere. And immediately, like Charles said, it got distribution in France, it got international sales, and it came from nowhere. So you don't have to necessarily go to labs and do all of these things. As long as you're a good film, you get discovered. Yeah. Okay, next question. Okay. Having been a film critic over the course of several decades, how do you feel cinema has evolved? In your view, has cinema improved? And what do you think Southeast Asian filmmakers are able to contribute to cinema?
I've been
Big
always
question.
quite optimistic. I'm not among the people who said cinema was better before or not, because if it was better, do another job. So when we went to see first film, to see the pleasure of young directors who make short films, and then that was wonderful. So I'm quite optimistic among the evolution of the new generation. After that, what's important but it's another point of view, because as film critic, it's useful to be film critic when you are a programmer, but also you have to look the film to see the film in a different way than as a film critic. You have to be more pragmatic about the reality of the film, the rates, the length, something like that. Because sometimes at the beginning I was surprised. Producer asked me, "What do you think about this scene? Do you think it's not too long? Can you change that?" So you have to have concrete suggestion about the film. As film critic, I was not used to that. Just to comment the general idea. But for cinema, I think there is Southeast Asia, as we said before, and as Raymond showed with the list of film of Cinemas du Monde, things a very promising area for young directors, because as we said before, for each country has its own story, its own problem, his own reality, his own social, political, historical background. And I think there is not, we have an image of Korean cinema, art house Korean cinema from Hong Sang-soo, on a more commercial in a good way with Bong Joon-ho. It's easier to see the landscape. What I like in Southeast Asia, I can't describe the landscape of this different country in a simple way. It's impossible. Can't say there is a mainstream cinema, commercial cinema, there is auteur cinema like Jazanke and so on, so on. That's all. It's difficult to, and when you can have this kind of map, it's good thing, because it's saying that everything is film will build something, and I hope in a good way. So I'm very optimistic. But there's area from South America, it's always the same film. They have good film, but it's always this kind of same film. I'm waiting more from America Central, from Guatemala, Costa Rica. Maybe there is a new way to move. East Europe is always quite the same, but I know I'm not so interested. I'm more interested about Asian cinema, India also, Southeast Asia, Africa, and also South America. I know I'm more personally involved with those countries. But I think there is when I was critic, I was part with other people to put Asian cinema on the map in the 80s, because before that, French critic was not French critic, European and Occidental critic. It was Hollywood, Europe, Soviet cinema, and Japan. That's all. And there is no consideration, just some kind of there is no cinema there. And when we do this with other people, Christian, and wow, when they see the film of Wu Xiaoxian, Edouard Yang, so and so and so, and now Asia is not only a part of the world, map of the world, but before the 80s, on the map of the world, there was Europe, there was Hollywood, United States, and Japan. But the other countries, there's some kind of No, it's a worldwide. This is not serious cinema, but now all the cinema is in the map for film festival, for film critic, for the audience too. Because in France there is a lot of diversity for the film. So it's very important that we have that. But we have that with Chinese cinema, fifth generation, sixth generation, Hong Kong popular cinema, Japan, of course, with Hiroshima and the new generation, and also with South Korean cinema, Taiwan. But I think now, of course, there is a little Thailand and also Singapore, which can also. But I think now each country will, and also Nino Broca with Philippines. But I think now is the time to do this, and how it's a lot of different countries. It will not be. It will be, each country will be different. I hope so.
Okay, great. Next question. French producers remind us that Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde is very script based. So they look at the script very heavily. But I'm curious how much of financing plan is considered in the decision of the plenary, and how this consideration can affect our planning of when to apply for a project. So maybe like if you have more money or less money, does that affect a project and not just the script? Or yeah, let's answer the first one. How important do you think is the script? Because they always say, oh, script is very important.
I think the script is very important, but for the final decisions, I consider also the previous film of the director. It's important that the previous film can help me to understand how he will do this film. It's very important that, because sometimes you put a documentary on how the script has type of story. Is it a historical film, action film, dialogues or not? And the short film must help give an aesthetic direction, because you can put in your director's note that you want to do this like this. But if you see that already in the short film, say, okay, it works. It's important also that the producer who are not only to find money, but real producer with a, how can I say, artistic discussion with the film director. And it's important to say that this film has a good producer company, and so it will be good, because not even if the script is good and the film is good, he has very good producer who knows what to do with the film. So it will be very helpful for the director. So we consider this also. For the financing part, the budget is just to be realistic first, not to put money and do like that. And we know that sometimes there is already funds from Germany, from Uberbals or something like that. Of course, we see this in the project. Sometimes not. We are the first, but we know that when we are the first, it's helpful. It's very helpful to the project to get other financements. And sometimes when we have this, we say that it's very important to do it, because we do like projects strongly, but also because it will be very helpful, because it's the reason very simple. We want to see that film when we read it. So the script is important for the first step to go to the final discussion when we have 50 films and we pick up 5. But at the end, it's all the project which is considered.
Okay. Thank you. From Sophie Bourdon. Sophie Bourdon asks, any chance in the future to be able to make application to Aide Aux Cinemas du Monde in English? For certain countries, it can be very expensive, and certain French producers do not cover all translation costs. In fact, I don't know any French producers who pay for translation. Usually we pay for it. French producers don't pay for translation. They don't. I don't know why.
I saw that French producers pay the translation for submit to Cinemas du Monde. I didn't know that.
Never.
No.
They always say that we have to, because they don't. I don't know why.
No, I didn't know that. No. The problem also is there is other country, but now you have Seafic and you are more professional in South Asia, but in Africa, in West Africa and Africa Francophone from French colony, they don't have any lab. Just now, Alex Moussassa Wadogo, who do FESPACO Film Lab, is now the new director of FESPACO. It's beginning very slowly, but they have also to, if they don't have producer, when they have found the director wants to take the money and make the film by their own.
Mhm.
And so this is a problem for those countries for the development of interest for Cinémas du Monde, but it's another point of view. But I didn't know this problem for the translation for the project. Well, it's in French, but it's better in French. No, I think so.
So sorry, Sophie, you are French too, but then yeah.
Yes, I
that's
know
what
Sophie
Charles says.
Goudrovani. I know her.
No, I was just answering her directly. So,
Yeah.
anyways, okay. Another one is not about Southeast Asia, but may I ask your opinion on the current films from Japan? What do you think of new Japanese filmmakers? You're very silent.
Silent, yes. No, I know. How can I say? The background story of Japanese cinema is so huge, so huge. Naruse, Mizoguchi, Ozu, Yamanaka, so many, and brilliant even in the genre movie, in kendo, ken, everything. Even after with Oshima, Yoshida, and so on. So Kitano is different style. No, there's good films, but they are all in some kind of a minimalistic amateur economy, which can do very good things. But it's of course we have good projects. We can feel that, but how I can't. There's good film, but it's not for me. It's not so stimulating, and the background was so huge, so important. But I have problem. But there is good short films, good young filmmakers, but always the same mezzo voce way of filming, very simple, good, but always quite the same. So maybe I'm very. I'm not so nice with that. But I don't have by now the huge revelation among the young directors. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't see all the films.
I do understand where you're coming from. Of course, sometimes you do fund Japanese directors. For example, you funded the Harmonian director's film that was in Locarno last year. I suddenly forgot his name. But but there's. I think the new Japanese films, they can seem like they all look kind of the same. I think that's one of the things.
I think I have the same feeling that for Korean cinema, but not for the same reason. And when some very intimacy filming, very simple, the rhythm is the same, the construction is the same, the atmosphere is the same, and that I don't feel among the few films I see, among the first film I see, I don't have a huge revelation. No.
So the next question is for me. What was your job scope as a festival delegate? So I was basically, I was the one who would kind of well, my only power really was that I was able to waive the entry fee. I think that's really the only power I really had, because technically you could also submit directly to Cannes Critics Week and pay the entry fee without having to go through me. But the thing is, I could waive the fee, and I'm the one recommending films to the selection committee, and like to Shaw, for example. So a lot of times they would, of course, rely on me to give them a kind of suggestion on what they do. And there's never been a situation where I said, I don't think this film's very strong. They still submitted, that they got in. It never happened. So usually it's the films that I do say, oh, this is interesting, and then they consider it. But it's not that I'm saying that I had that power. It's just that if I don't think it's interesting, probably they would not find it interesting either, because that's why I was their delegate. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been given the job. But I was watching a lot of films and kind of being the first gate.
Oh, yeah. I remember your notes about the film, and it was very useful because it was a part we didn't know the project. It was not in lab. Maybe the only lab sometimes was in Busan for the project. But outside that, we never go to Hong Kong Film Festival because it's in March, and at that time we are not available to go there. So your notes were very helpful because this area we are a little blind to know the project and the good directors, and it was very helpful.
But anyways, there is no more festival delegate for Cement. I was the last one.
Yes,
so
the last one. No, because for we discussed with Remy and Hélène about that. For example, when there is some person who is responsible for German cinema, we see maybe 80 films. He select for us 5, and we see this 5, and then the correspondent talks to the producer to say, okay. And we discussed with Remy that. He said, no, it's we prefer to deal directly with the producer, to say that thanks for your film, we didn't consider, but I like it. To keep good connection with those producers who submit the film, because they will produce other films, and to keep good relation, and just to have. So it's a lot of job. It means to travel a lot. I did this, and Remy Bonhomme, you know him very well, did this also in many places, in Ventanasso and so place, to have a direct discussion with the producer, the person who submit the film. So we don't have official correspondence. We have in each country, of course, there is a COFIG, there is IMCINE. You can watch film in Busan, 40 Korean film, and so on. So in Quebec, with organism, IMCINE in Mexico, in Quebec, we do this also with the selection committee. But mostly we discuss directly with the producer. It's more job, it's more tough, but it's a human link with the producer who submit our films, and with the directors too. So it's important to have this kind of link, and we like to do like this in Critics Week.
And then the follow-up question is: do you mean people can just cold call you via email? Well, now there is no delegate, so all you can do is just email directly to the website and the email of Semaine de la Critique. If you have a film and stuff like that, the best way is just
to selection at Semaine de la Critique, and Hélène will receive this, of course. And I used to even on Facebook messages, the Vimeo link and so on. So, but I say to all the person, okay, I can see the film, but first register the film on our website, because we have so many films. We have to know how the film exists, who is the contact, and to know who see the film, what he thinks about the film. So all is in the computer with all the information on the basis. So that's all.
Yeah. So email directly to the web to the selection at Semaine de la Critique, which is on the same email on the website. So that's the best way to basically get in contact.
Yeah. For sure, the film, the mail will be received, and we say the way to do with that.
Yeah. So that's the answered. Okay. Well, we already done with the time. There's a couple of other questions, but yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So anyways, thank you so much, Charles, for this talk. I hope that people found it useful, but I think that, we have some, hope for Southeast Asia. So just based upon all the projects that are getting the funding, as you can see. And of course, a lot of them, hopefully will be in Cannes this year. I have a feeling there will be. So let's see what happens. So thank you, Charles. And I'll see you very quickly at the award ceremony. This is the last public event for Seafic. Thank you so much to everybody for listening for the last 4 years. 4 days, excuse me. And then we will be announcing the winner tomorrow morning around 9 a.m. So anyways, please do follow our Facebook, and then we will be in touch soon. Thank you, everyone. Merci, Charles.
Merci, Raymond. Merci. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Merci, Raymond. Thank you.
15
Bye.
minutes.